Welcome to another Dreams to Reality podcast. And yes, we are filming over Zoom again because we are in a lockdown. But one thing that I wanted to do in this lockdown is really step up and bring you some incredible guests to not just talk about it, people who are actually in the field making things happen. You guys know I love the word action, and this man is all about the action, and that's Jay Richards. How we doing, my man?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, sir. How are you?
I'm good, bro. Getting used to this. Is it the third lockdown we're in now? Is it the third one?
Bro, I don't even know, man. I've given up. Whatever lockdown we're in, we're still in it. So it is what it is, isn't it?
Quickly, before we dive into it, before I bombard you with loads of different questions, what does Jay Richards do for everyone?
Yeah, good question, man. Good question. But firstly, thank you for having me, Cameron. It means a lot, bro. But so what we do is I'm the CEO of Imagen, and our mission is to help Gen Z to shape their future. And we do that by enabling agencies and brands to crowdsource feedback, ideas, or insights from our community. Because really, if we want Gen Z to shape their future, we know the best way for them to do that is with brands. Because brands shape countries and culture like politicians only wish they could. So we enable agencies and brands to crowdsource feedback, ideas, or insights from our community. So brands within 72 hours can get all the insight they need to start to build their product, their branding, or their marketing with Gen Z in the room. So we have an amazing platform that makes that happen. It's a lot of fun.
So you said, the quick specific there, you said 72 hours.
Yeah, so within 72 hours, the brand can upload what they're looking for from our community. So they can upload 10 qualitative questions. And then within 72 hours, they get the feedback directly into their dashboard and they're good to go.
I bet that's a kind of a unique selling point, right? The 72 hours, because if somebody's looking to launch something, you want it always to be quick, I guess. Was that an important factor for you?
Yeah, because the thing is, historically, when you're doing so there's quantitative research and there's qualitative. So quantitative is normally like data, so it's normally super quick to get it. It's like 63% of Gen Z think this, 12% think that. It's super easy to fill in one of those forms. But qualitative normally a lot longer. Sometimes it could take weeks. So brands and agencies are used to going to big companies and going, hey, we need this doing. The company will be like, all right, we'll have it back to you in 2 weeks. But what we're doing is that speeding that entire process up and actually making it almost the same as getting quantitative insight. Do you know what I mean? So you do that, they go to the community, they ask what they want, 72 hours later. Sometimes we did some work for a client recently and we did it within 14 hours. Like the client needed it and they know, okay, we need this for Friday night and we've only contacted you on Thursday morning, we can get it done, which is really, really cool, man.
Damn. Right, before I ask a lot of questions about your business, because I think it's fascinating, especially because you're involving young people. So we'll dive into that. Firstly, how old are you?
I'm 30, bro. I just hit 30.
3-0. I'm gonna be 3-0 this year, man. Don't worry.
Yeah, bro. It's the best, man. I'm not even gonna lie, because everybody in my head, I was like, I need to do this by the time I'm 30. I need to do this by the time I'm 30. I'm enjoying it, man. Like it's just part of the journry, bro.
Dive into that a little bit more.
Coming to our prime.
Yeah, dive into that a little bit more, actually, because I thought I was going to be a millionaire literally by the age of 25, right? Remember back in the day, like what Drake say, 25, sitting on 25 mil? I'm like, bro, that's going to be me. But the fact is, I want to dive into that, actually, because that's interesting, because actually the older you get, the more you realize that stuff's not important. And you realize there's a journey and a process you need to follow because it doesn't happen overnight, right? So talk to me about that whole process for you.
Yeah, man, it's interesting you said that because I always used to say when I was like 18, 19, but all right, I will own 30 houses by the time I'm 30. This is what I'm going to be doing. And the funny thing is I own one house, but so I'm only 29 houses away. But I think it's the funny thing for me is when you look at it, you're like, really, it's like what you said. You alluded to it a second ago. It's just a journey, man, and you just got to enjoy the journey wherever you are in that journey. Just be thankful for being in that position, because where I am now, like when I was young, I remember when I lived on my own before I met my wife. So we've been together now 11 years. So before I met my wife, I had like no light bulbs in my apartment. Like when it got dark in my apartment, it just got dark. Like it wasn't because like out of like I didn't have much money, but it was just like I just didn't think those things were needed. I was kind of just like, why don't I need light bulbs? Like it is what it is. I'll just be on my phone. And as you get older, you look back and you just appreciate. You're like, okay, cool. Look where I came from. I remember going into meetings of like I used to work as an estate agent, so I'd go in and like my my jacket was a different color to my trousers. And like, you see that journey now and you look back and you're like, I remember buying £5 suits. I remember buying £10 shoes. I remember buying these things. And I can look back and like, I live in a beautiful apartment in London and just like enjoying my life now. I'm not where I thought I would have been, but I'm actually in a better position than I could ever imagine. So I think it's enjoying the journey and allowing it to be what it is.
That's very strong. And also, there is an element that time just moves quick, man. Time just moves quick, which is a blessing in a way, but also not, because for me, I think quite a lot, and it puts it in perspective that like, yo, if I'm lucky enough, I'm going to be 60 before I know it, if I can make it that far. But I might not even make it that far, you know, because it's crazy that just how fast time goes. Okay, so I don't want to dive into too much about your upbringing or nothing, but let's go back to when you was a estate agent. When did you give that job up? Was that your last job from what you do now?
No, not even. No. So that was like my first proper job out of university. So I graduated university.
What uni was that?
Went to work as that was Birmingham, not the uni of Birmingham City, not the uni of. I went to there was Birmingham University, there was Aston University, and then there was my one, Birmingham City University. Nobody really, if you came from there, you'd be like, nah, I just went to uni of Birmingham. Don't worry which uni. I just went to uni of Birmingham. Just don't worry about that. And so I graduated there.
It's the same as Bristol, bro. You got obviously Bristol Uni, then you got UWE.
For real.
When you're out, what uni you go to? University in Bristol, and that's good. You're good. Oh, it's the other one.
Whatever one you're thinking of, it's the other one. It's not that one. It's not that one. But yeah, so graduated.
So are you the best thing about these podcasts, mate, is when you just talk, I just got ideas coming right quickly. Are you from Birmingham or London?
No, not even. So I was born in Birmingham. But my parents are nomads, so we moved around a lot as a kid. So I was born in Birmingham, moved to Stoke-on-Trent for a little while, moved to Milton Keynes for a little while, moved to London for a little while, moved back up to Birmingham for university. So I've lived all around the country. But London is home for me. London's like where I want to raise family and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we traveled a lot as when we were younger. So I can't really say like, I'm from here, because I lived like 4 or 5 years in different places. We moved around so much. But yeah, so graduated university, went and worked in an estate agent, thought that was going to be my career. Turned out I hated it. Went and worked selling security alarms for ADT, the fire and security company. So I used to go door to door selling security alarms for them, like all up and down the road in Harlesden in Northwest London. Then went from there, started working at an insurance firm. And while I was there, that's when I started developing what we're doing now. Worked there for 4 years and then jumped out and started doing this full time.
Do you feel like you gained a unique perspective of living in different places 4 to 5 years at a time, different cultures, and different areas are completely different? What was the positives of that, but also what was some of the challenges of that?
That's a good question, bro. I don't think I've ever been asked that. I think the positive is definitely what I've learned how to, what we call in the Black community, code switching. So I learned how to talk how I would do with my boys, because a lot of my boys, I've got a mixture of group of friends, everybody from Jewish folk to like young Black guys. And I learned how I was going to talk with my boys, the young Black guys that I grew up with around the area, the lads that I know now. And then also how I was going to talk to folks that didn't come from my background. So when I lived in Stoke-on-Trent, for example, me and my little sister were the only 2 Black kids in our entire school. So at a school, every single person was white. So there, it was interesting, you know what I mean? But you learn how to navigate that space, and then also navigate a space where you go in a room and nobody's white. Everybody's Black. All of your friends and family are Black. Everybody's Black. The only white person in my room was my dad. Do you know what I mean? So you learn how to navigate.
Bro, I've been in those rooms growing up. I've been in those rooms. I've been in those clubs. I mean, I get it, but it's still different. You know what I mean? It's still
100%. And that's the thing. So I remember
being in Jamaica, and we went out we had friends who lived in Jamaica. So they took me out into like only Montego Bay and around a few of those places there. And obviously I was the only white person or whatever. And I was bouncing around in a night tracksuit. And I got, people were coming up to me. I mean, I had kids in school uniforms doing that to me. I'm like, get me out of here quick, man. But it was just it was different.
Great experience, man.
Yeah, it's a unique experience, but that code switching, I was actually talking to my wife about it the other day, but she said, "Isn't that fake? Like talking to one person, talking to," and I said, "No, it's not." But I couldn't really explain it.
I think,
Can
yeah,
you explain it for me? Because I struggled to, because I was like, I can see where she's coming from,
yeah.
but you gotta be able to adapt and adjust, because when I'm talking to senior leaders, I'm gonna be talking completely different to the way I talk to my boys as well, you know, with my kids or my wife or so on and so forth.
I think it's a survival instinct. And this is the thing that I think people from certain backgrounds or people from certain ethnicities, you just learn to survive. You learn that if you're going to survive, you have to be different in different spaces. So I think it actually makes you a chameleon, which is great. And it's just another weapon in your in your arsenal for me. I think the way I look at it is it's a superpower. Do you know what I mean? The ability to, because some people, they are extremely middle class and well spoken no matter what, and they can't code switch. So for them, they're like, I would just struggle to be in a room with people where they don't speak extremely middle class and well spoken. But for us, I can, if I want to, I can switch it on, and like I can suddenly start using words and vocabulary that I wouldn't use if I'm just going to be chilling and hang around and relaxed. And I think, yeah, educating yourself on both is definitely a superpower for me.
Do you think yeah. Do you think, considering your background, being able to do that, do you think that is an essential skill that you need, especially if you say you come from a poor area, from the hood? Do you think that's a skill you need? And with that said, do you also think Jay-Z, for example, wouldn't have got to where he got to if he didn't learn that skill himself, you know? Well, do you think that's necessary? Like, we have to learn it. And the reason why I'm talking about it is because even though I was in uni, the other uni, and there were still mostly middle class white people in uni, right? And I came from, I guess, a group of black friends, but I was white. I was in red tracksuit bottoms a lot, and I was not made fun of, but they're like, who's this white kid talking this way? And it wasn't on purpose. And I've worked so long to try and improve the way I talk, but I was then kind of divided from everybody else. And then I learned actually the power of actually, I've got to start being able to talk properly, because it's not going to
Yeah,
work for me.
100%, man. And I think you have to learn to balance the two. And I definitely think it's something that without a doubt you need. Like, I don't necessarily even think that sometimes it's folks coming from a poor background, because sometimes it's just, you may not be poor, your parents may just have enough, but you're also not in that middle class. So you're in that stage in between, where it's not like, all right, I'm not getting new trainers all the time. But like my mom used to say, there's food on the table, you've got clothes on your back. There may be clothes that are hand-me-downs, but you're not broke. Do you know what I mean? When you look at some of your friends, you're like, actually, now that's a struggle. Do you know what I mean? And it's not third world poverty. Do you know what I mean? So but there's that stage where, yeah, if I'm in a client meeting with Gymshark or with eBay, and the person on the other end of the call is not from my background, I have to be able to switch it up. But at the same time, still being yourself. So if I'm talking like this, and I'm probably using the slang, but really I'm still talking the same, because people appreciate, and they always will do, they'll appreciate that authenticity.
But they also know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Your field. So when you get so good at something, somebody can't say, "Oh, he talks a bit different. I'm not going to accept it," because still
exactly.
you know more, even though you may articulate it different to how they would. It doesn't mean it's less or Did you, when you said your sibling was the only black person in the school, did you experience much racism growing up?
Yeah. So yeah, I did. Look, yeah. Simple answer is yeah, loads of racism. But my mum is potentially the strongest human being I've ever met in my entire life, apart from my wife, actually. So with
clawed that one back in.
Trust me, before she finds this podcast and beats the crap out of me. But no, yeah. So with me, when the way my mum always taught us about racism, it was like, okay, cool. These people, she always clued us up before we went into situations. These people are most likely going to act like this. So when they act like this, you know they're going to act like this. So you could just take it and keep it moving. Call it out when it needs to be called out. say what you need to say. So someone says a comment like, oh, hey, I didn't expect you to go to university because you're black. I'm like, oh, that's actually racist what you just said. But it's cool. I went to university. It's cool. That doesn't offend me. Let's keep it moving. Because when you call people out and instantly they, oh, okay, sorry, I didn't mean it like that, that kind of thing. But my mum always taught us that. You call people out on it. You do it in a loving and a graceful way. And then you keep it moving. You don't take it on. Because realistically, racism is somebody feeling terrible about themselves. So they have to project that onto you. So I can confront you about it and let you know that it's wrong, but at the same time, I don't need to accept it. So I don't accept it and I keep it moving. But yeah, when I was in Stoke-on-Trent, when we were going to school, I was in primary school, maybe year 3 or 4, and maybe a little bit older. And because the school was predominantly white, and I knew there was a more diverse school about a 10-minute walk from where we were, called Crackley Bank. And I said to my mum, I was like, every day you drop me off at school, I'm going to walk to that school because I want you to take me to, I want to go to this new school. I don't want to go to the school that I'm in. So every day she dropped me off, I was like 9 years old, and I would just make the walk every single day. And I said to her, until you enroll me in this new school, I'm going to keep making this walk. Eventually she gave in and was just like, yo, this kid's going to get abducted or something if he keeps doing this walk every day. So she just enrolled me in the new school. So it was good.
Amazing, bro. All right, let's fast forward then. Let's move on. Where did the idea for your business come about? And
Good question.
What experience did you have to make you the guy to do it?
Good question, man. So where the business came about from, we were running a startup incubator in secondary schools, helping young people to start their own businesses. While we were doing that, the NFL came to us. I did a talk at Facebook. The NFL came to us and was like, we see you've got access to all these...
Wait. You don't just do a talk at Facebook. You don't just get the NFL.
No, let me. So the talk at Facebook came from, I was running a startup incubator in schools, helping young people to start their own businesses.
I did a talk at Facebook, now I'm multi-millionaire.
I wish multi-millionaire. So doing a talk at Facebook, because they invited me to come down, like, oh, we've heard you're doing all these things within the community in London, you're helping young people to start their own businesses. Can you come in and do a talk about your experience with young people and so on and so on? So while I'm doing this talk, the head of retail, a lady called Sarah, was in the audience. So she's hearing me listen to me talk. There's a load of brands like Formula One all that in the audience. After I finish this talk, she comes to me and she's like, tell truth, we can't really do anything in the startup space because it's not really anything we would mess with, but would your young people be willing to help us to create a marketing campaign or to be part of our youth marketing strategy for the next couple of years? And me being a salesman, I'm like, yeah, 100%. Like, we do that all the time. Like, it's easy. No way. You know what I mean? Like, that's easy. So I went home that night and just completely changed the entire business. Because the way I saw it was, if a big brand like the NFL, one of the world's biggest brands, comes to tiny little me, a relevant little company that I started X amount of months ago, if they come to me and they've got a problem that they want me to solve, other brands must have this issue as well. So I went away, changed the entire business, worked out how we could make it work, went back to the NFL, pitched to them what they would do, and they were like, all right, cool, here's the money, let's get it started. So they were our first client, and off the back of them, it was literally just Stella McCartney, so on, and it just skyrocketed from there, man.
Well, when you put the proposal together for the NFL, how long did the cost take you? How long did it take you to come up with a cost? Because there's always that risk, like, oh, I don't want to underprice it and make us look like not ready, but then I don't want to overprice it that I missed this. Having more than anything, it's not the money, but having that NFL logo on your website will do wonders for you. So how was it a difficult task to come up for that defining number? And then I don't know if you've ever done it. You gave somebody a number, they're like, "Yep, that's fine. We get it paid straight away." Like,
yeah, damn it!
That's a bit more.
Yeah. That's the pricing is the hardest thing to figure out. And I'm reading a book at the moment called "This Is Marketing" by Seth Godin. I recommend it to everybody. Phenomenal book. And the chapter I just finished last night, he was speaking about with pricing, you never want to be so cheap that your people are like, okay, this is a steal. There must be something wrong with it, or too expensive where people think you're crazy. You want to find that nice middle ground, which is tough. But what I did was I went out and I just looked at what competitors were charging for similar things. I kind of gauged what we could do, gauge the value that we could add. And I took that to the NFL and gave them 3 different prices. So I was like, okay, this is what we could do if you went at the highest amount. This is what we could do if you were going at mid-range. And this is what we would do if you were really just trying to be cheap and basic. And they were like, all right, perfect. We want to go middle type thing. Do you know what I mean? So that enabled me then not to go in with one price, like, oh, bish, bash, bosh, this is what it is. And then we were then able to negotiate, and yeah, we were able then to negotiate. And tell the truth, that's not something that like I was like, oh, I innately knew. That came from years of working in different sales companies where I saw them doing very similar strategies to bring clients on board. They had tiered pricing and so on that enabled clients to come in at different levels that they wanted to.
I don't know if you was aware when you said it, but you mentioned the one of my favorite words actually is value. Because most of the time it's hard kind of pill to swallow in a way, is that you get paid on the value you deliver, right? And I remember when I was actually working at UWE, working for the accommodation, and I signed up for another year doing the warden, and it was like good money for where you stay and all of this stuff. And then I had another opportunity actually thinking, if I'm going to do this business stuff, I'm going to go and do it. And I was like, well, I've signed up for it. And I spoke to one of my managers who was a friend of mine and said, listen, this is what I'm looking to do, but I don't want to let people down because I've signed, I was like, listen, he said, this place is going to be here with you or without you. He said, as much as I like you, you're not that valuable. You can be replaced. And I was like, okay, that's probably why I'm on £7.50 an hour type of thing. And it's a hard pill to swallow, especially my nan was a cleaner her entire life and she worked very hard, but it's still, you get paid on the value you deliver. How do you measure that, right? How do you measure, or how do you define that value? Or when you're speaking to a new customer, how can you say it's going to be extremely valuable? How do you do that?
Yeah, good question, man. I think it's the chicken or the egg situation. It's hard to, normally it's the customer themselves, is what they're willing to pay is normally the value that it comes in at. But what happens is, and I think we've got to a place now where I could pretty much, on our platform, there's a subscription. So there's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So clients will go, okay, I'm paying for tier 2, and that means, I hate those phrases because of lockdown. Okay, so I'm paying premium, express, or whatever it is. And a client can jump onto our subscriptions and go, okay, I want to go on the middle one because I want access to 3 briefs a year. And for those, I can send 3 briefs to the community. So the client can look on this table and see exactly what they're getting for what they're paying. So it's very clear to them. It's not,
easy for you, right? That makes it more efficient. It makes it simple.
So I send it out to people and I just go, this is our costing. So people don't need to negotiate, because when you think of subscriptions, like your Netflix subscription, if you want 8 people to be able to access to your one Netflix, this is the cost. If you want 150 people to access your Netflix, this is the cost. If you just want 2, this is the cost. And it's enabling the client to clearly see that. That's what we've been able to develop over the last couple of years. But prior, it was hard because you're almost like sticking your finger in the air, just being like, I think this is what we're worth. And you look at other clients and go, okay, and look at other competitors, and you say, okay, this is what they're charging. This is kind of where we should be, type thing. And then over the years, you begin to develop your own pricing because you begin to understand the business better.
Is it a competitive industry, or was it when you first started?
Yeah, massively. Research.
I've always heard, I can't remember. I was always remember hearing in uni, you got a product, you go and see a group and they talk about it and stuff like that. What's that called again?
Yeah, so that's a focus group. So
group. So yeah, talk to
me. Yeah. So focus groups are old school. So focus groups have been around since the beginning of time. We're probably doing them when we were in the caves. So focus groups are, a brand will normally come and go, hey, we've got this product. We want you to tell us what you think of this product. So people will sit down, the brand's already got the product, so on and so on. So focus groups are normally done after the fact, after the product's been developed, after the campaign's already out. What we do, we come in much earlier. So our whole concept is around feedback and ideation. So we want our clients to build with our community and not for them. So this iPhone is built for you. You then do the focus group on it.
So you're
ultimately
encouraging. Yeah, that value against ultimately saving a very expensive mistake.
Yeah, massively, because so many brands do it. A prime example of this is Pepsi, when they rolled out their Kendall Jenner campaign they did a few years ago, where Kendall Jenner walked to the front of there was all these people protesting in the campaign. She walked to the front with a can of Pepsi, pops the Pepsi, and suddenly the police are no longer trying to beef the protesters. The protesters are hugging the police officers. And Pepsi were basically saying if you pop this can of Pepsi, it could change the world, type thing. And everybody was like, what the hell is this? Like there's real people struggling with real things. Pepsi's not going to solve that. And that's a prime example of, and I'm sure Pepsi did their research. I'm sure Pepsi did everything they could. But if you built with Gen Z and you had Gen Z in the room when you were creating that campaign, they would have been like, nah, this is a stupid idea. Don't do this. This is how we can change it. So it's helping brands to not make that mistake by involving them earlier.
So how many people are involved in that process, bro?
So we have 2,000 people in our community, and yeah, which is really, really cool.
So I guess the also another weakness for the focus groups is there's probably limited numbers, right?
Yeah, bro, it's exactly that, man. So the idea about what we have, simply put, is a client, those subscription levels I was telling you about earlier. If a client's on a lower level, they get access to 50 to 70 responses. If a client's at the middle level, they get access to 70 to 50, lowest level 30 to 50, middle level 50 to 70, and then higher level 70 to 100. So a client knows I'm going to get 100 responses because I'm paying for X amount. So we know every single time this is the amount of people we're going to be paying, and they get paid for every single insight they provide. So it enables a process to be super open, but the client knows every single time.
Yeah.
So we pay for every single insight one of our community provides.
Damn. That's expensive, right?
No. So what we do is, what we've designed. Firstly, yeah, it's expensive because you're having to pay people. But the way you mitigate that is by making sure that what you're charging the client obviously overcovers that, but also by us having a set amount. So you can only get 50 insights, 50 responses for this amount. We know we're only ever going to pay this amount for that brief, if that makes sense. So we can always make sure our cost is that exact amount. So cost is not fluctuating for us as it may be with other businesses. We know every single time what we're going to pay.
Has there been a time with on the website? It's strong, brutally honest insights, right? Just capital black writing in your face. Has there came a time when you're working with a big brand and you're thinking, if I tell them this sucks, it might dampen our relationship? Has that integrity ever crossed your mind before?
Yeah, man, it has. But the way I mitigate that is right from the first meeting with the client. I'm gonna say you may get some insights that might piss you off, and you may get told something that you don't want to hear. So if you're down for that, we're the right company to go with. If you want to have people tickling your ears and everything's going great, don't worry, then you might want to go with another platform or another agency. But if you want brutally honest insights from Gen Z, the people you're trying to sell to, then we're the people to come to. So brands know this. Every brand knows from the moment they start with us, that's what they get.
And I think it comes down to that echo chamber like analogy, right? You just have people around you, the yes people. Yes, that's perfect. Yes, that's great. And when you've got that constantly around you, there isn't much room for growth, is there? There's not much room for you to really learn and improve. And eventually that will probably come and catch up with you because you wasn't real, if that kind of makes sense. Just looking at your website now, right? You've got some incredible brands. You mentioned them already: NFL, Gymshark, eBay. So you said the NFL was your first. How then do you grow from there to then take on other customers like Gymshark? Because obviously Gymshark are rapidly growing. The people who obviously own Gymshark are very young as well. So it's like, how did you get in there? How did you get into these big brands? Is it word of mouth? Is it marketing? Is it, I don't know. Tell me more.
Yeah, man. So we haven't spent a penny on marketing since we started.
Wow.
I believe that direct marketing can work. I don't think it specifically works in our industry that well. I'm not a massive believer in SEO, in search engine optimization, simply for the fact I feel like it's a pyramid scheme. I feel like everybody's paying the most amount to appear at the top of Google. So I'm kind of like, that doesn't really make any sense to me. So one thing I'm a big believer in is great branding. So for us, we've got our own podcast. We are constantly engaging with people on LinkedIn. We're constantly adding.
You got your own podcast. Wait, where's have I got my invite yet?
It's coming. It's on the way. It's on the way.
Nah.
Now, but our podcast is different. So what we do is we actually have members of our community
I'm
come on.
joking, by the way, bro. I'm joking.
It's all good, bro. Don't worry, man. I'll take the heat. We've got members of our community come on, and they talk about topics of the day, which is cool. But really, for us, everything's around branding, because branding is how you build great businesses long term. So we're not looking just to get a couple of clicks on a website. We want to build a long term business. But the main way we've won new clients is actually just through referrals. We do great work for a client. The client then says, "Oh, hey, you know what? I think you should talk to so and so." And that's how I would say probably 70% of our business comes to us just through referrals.
Because when you do a good job, people want to refer you, right?
Yeah, man.
Do you work with smaller companies? I know you said obviously you got different levels. Do you work with I don't know, the estate agent down the road, for example?
We can do because realistically our prices aren't out of that. They're not completely out of their realm. It would fit them. But my only struggle is we've worked with startups in the past, and getting them to pay can be a struggle.
I agree.
So I think it's not always so much that we don't want to work with them. It's just sometimes our experience has been that we do some great work with a startup and they're like, "Hey, we can't pay yet," and that's why I do love a purchase order or invoices up front. That helps that. But yeah, so we do work with smaller companies. Yeah.
And your paid work experience, are you 16 to 26? I guess that's the people who are your consultants, right? The people who are recommended, looking at why between those ages?
16, because legally it's a nightmare if I try and pay anybody under 16.
Yeah.
And then 26 simply
just real. There was a no side. It's just I don't want to play that game. No thank you.
Yeah, for real, man. I don't want to go to prison. And then 26, because that's the oldest age of Gen Z. So the oldest Gen Z are now 26 years old. And we're just going to keep playing in that space that brands don't understand, which is normally the younger age group.
Why are you passionate about what you do? Why is it important, bro? Like,
yeah, man. I think the main thing is
I can feel you. I can feel your energy, and I can feel not just about also the young people, but also just branding, the work, the sales. I can see that you live for it, right? And I think that's very similar to me. Sometimes I actually enjoy that whole process more than I enjoy delivering in many ways. But why? Where does that passion come from? Why this? Why is this the one?
Yeah, I think personally, the main reason I think it's important is because the bottom line is unemployment is insanely high. Unemployment is so high with Gen Z, it doesn't make any sense. And going forward for the next five to 10 years, it's going to be tough. And I think if we can have a platform that Gen Z know that they can sign up to and get work, it makes sense. Do you know what I mean? It's a freelancer platform that people can come onto. They know it may not be regular work, but they know when they do the work, they get paid, and they get paid straight away. And I think for us, that's the important thing, just giving an opportunity for young people to get paid. And then on the other side of things for brands need to build with the right people in the room, man. Historically, brands have gone to agencies where they have 2,000 people in an office, and those same 2,000 people come up with every single idea for every single, not even 2,000, 200 people, 100 people will come up with the same ideas for every single brand. You need a diverse group of people in the room to be able to actually have a brand that reflects the society you live in. So we're just enabling brands to build things that are actually important, but with the people that they're building for.
How do you break down that information though, right? Because I guess if you got 2,000 people commenting on something, how do you break it down into the simple form so you're not up until midnight and whatever, trying to, calculate it all and so on and so forth? Do you have the systems, or is it literally you just give everything across to them and they can deal with it?
It's completely up to the client. Some clients, hey, you know what? We want it more broken down. But the way our platform works, simply, clients can view every single insight in a spreadsheet. They can get all of these insights in a spreadsheet, or they click a button and we can then view it on the dashboard so they can select it a little bit easier. Or if they want to go up to the highest end, they can simply select a couple of the insights per question, click a button, and then they'll be put out into a PowerPoint presentation for them. So for that client, they then have a presentation that they can make within 5 or 6 minutes that simply outlines everything that they wanted to get from those initial insights.
That's amazing, bro. Literally amazing, right? The worry I have for this podcast is that it all sounds too perfect. Talk to me about some of the difficulties you've had growing this business, some of the challenges, some of the struggles. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Cash flow, man. That's simply it. Trying to your
My biggest weakness.
That's the bottom line. So the good thing for us at the moment, we've got enough money in the bank to keep us going for quite a while. So I'm not worried about that. But still, even now, I still wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, yo, I need more, I need this, But trying to initially, because I wanted to test the idea before I started building a platform. I wanted to test the idea, see if brands wanted it first. So our MVP was very much built on spreadsheets and Google Forms and that kind of stuff. So it was super buggy and super hard to do. And the problem with building like that, going to investors, they're kind of like, well, you haven't got a platform. You're not a tech company. You're more just like an agency. I don't want to invest in this. But as we move to more of a platform, investors go, okay, I get it. You become what's called a SaaS business, a software as a service, which means it's super easy for them to invest in because they know if I invest this much and they do this much in revenue, I'll get paid this much out. But yeah, cash flow's always been tough. When we were trying to initially just test the business and see if it actually was something that was plausible, the cash flow at that stage was tough, and we're moving forward, thank God, and it's not as bad now. But it's still every month you're just hoping that you can keep adding months onto your runway.
Have you taken a big hit in lockdown? Obviously, the first lockdown or second lockdown or third lockdown. Has it had a big impact? And how have you used the time in lockdown wisely?
By the grace of God, no. So thankfully, for us, everything we do is online. So I made a big call early on that I was like, okay, we do workshops for clients, which we spoke about earlier, similar to focus groups. We do workshops for clients, but the main focus needs to be the online quick insight. They get what they need and they can keep it moving. And I thank God that we made that call early on because it helped us. But yeah, it's what I've been doing during lockdown is simply I train a lot. So I train about 8 times a week, because I do mixed martial arts and jiu-jitsu. So the problem with lockdown is it stopped me from doing all of my training. So the main thing I've been doing just lockdown is just exercising as much as humanly possible. Because for me, it was like not even like a fitness thing. I've been doing this kind of stuff since I was like 14. So it's just a mental health thing. If I don't exercise, I'm a bastard. So just been focusing on doing that, and then I played the piano, and I've been learning Spanish for a couple of years now. So I've just been, as you can see, my piano's there, my keyboard's there, so I've just been focusing on that, just continue just trying to improve myself on the piano, improve myself on that, and that's about it really. I haven't done anything special. And I was speaking to one of our investors about this yesterday. I was like, I feel like we're all dealing with delayed trauma, and suddenly in 4 years' time, we'll be like, oh my God, that was potentially the worst year of my life. But I just didn't realize at the time, so I was just trying to survive.
And it's hard to complain, right? Especially when there is people out here dying and losing their lives, and a lot more than what we've lost. Does that make sense? So it's hard to complain when you got a full stomach, I think.
Yeah. Bro, wow, that's a statement. Oh my God. It's hard to complain when you got a full stomach.
It's true, man. Like, I think when we probably were both students and even past there, I remember I didn't have enough money even for my heating and stuff like that. And I think back then it's crazy. And I think the situation I'm in now, I'm blessed, even though I lost 90% of what my income. But I still going to get through it. I mean, we don't have a choice, right? It's the same as last year. I can't wait for 2020 to be over. Well, you don't have a choice. You have to wait. So you're either going to use the time, learn Spanish, play the piano, or you can just waste it and complain and look at conspiracies of why this isn't happening, why it's not true. But is there, in your business, right, talking about integrity, talking about what's real, is there a no-go for you? Is there something you're like, nah, I'm not going to play with that? So is there some companies you tried drawing the line? What am I trying to say? Like, whether it's a political statement or I don't know. Is there something you just like, nah, we can't play with that. That's not us. Or something they tried doing and you just like, you can't use that as an advantage to, push your agenda.
So a couple of things. So probably only gambling. That's probably the only thing we would mess with, or anything where children are being harmed. Those are like definite no-nos. But outside of that, I don't work with brands that aren't willing to pay the community, because sometimes brands are like, oh, what if we paid them less could we then reduce the cost that you're charging? And I'm like, nope. I'm like, either you, because a lot of time we don't tell clients what we pay our consultants, because then clients will do that. What about if we pay them £10 less or £15 less or £20 less? So we don't tell them what.
They're only
yeah,
young,
so we
they
don't
don't have responsibilities. It's fine.
exactly. Yeah. And I'm like, shut up, it's my business. So we don't tell them that. But some we've had clients try it, and we just didn't work with the client. So they were like, they were like historic. So we were going to do a workshop, and we normally pay a certain amount for a workshop, which is in the hundreds. And the client was like, oh, what about if we just paid them 50 quid? And I was like, but that's not what we pay them. And they were like, oh, well, historically, that's what we've done. I'm like, well, historically, I don't care, because that's got nothing to do with my business. So that's your business if that's what you want to do with another agency. But the reason why agencies and brands can do that is because they're not trying to build a community. They're just trying to use people for one moment. And for us, we're building a community. I can't afford for in 3 years' time, somebody to be like, Jay's a prick, because he just gradually over the years just paid us less and less and less, and now we're not getting paid. Do you know what I mean? So you got to play the long game with it, man.
And I think I've got a rule in business is if they ask three questions about the price, I don't work with them, and I refer them to somebody else, and I say, listen, I don't think you're the right customer, because they will never be happy, and they will always find something wrong, even if you deliver the best possible service in the world, right? They're never going to be happy. So yeah, talk to me then. What's going on about the future? What are you going to be doing in the future for you more than your business? What is the plan in general? Obviously, you said you're into mixed martial arts. I think want to take on Conor in the next fight. What's going on?
Bruv, the way he's moving at the moment, I'm down. If I can get that payday.
Did you watch the fight?
Yeah, bro, of course.
What did you think to that?
He's let's be honest, man. My man's made a couple of hundreds of millions now. He's chilling. He doesn't need to be an MMA fighter anymore. He's a phenomenal fighter. He's a force in the industry. He's made MMA, he's made UFC specifically a lot more popular, which is great. But it's not even like he's old. He's got to a place now.
He looked old.
Yeah. But he's made enough money that he could just be like, I don't really care that much anymore. Do you know what I mean? And
do you think it is a money thing though? So I was actually watching an interview after the fight, but it's his coach, right? On ESPN, and he basically talks about how Conor trained so hard for this fight, and Dustin beat the best Conor we've had. And you look at it and you're like, I can't see it, but you would. He didn't want it.
He didn't want it. There is no way, bro. And I'm getting mad passionate about this. There's no way Conor, after that fight, goes, you know what? It is what it is. Like, I've been out of the game so long. Like, old Conor would have been like, no, next time I'm rapping him. Like, it's like I'm coming for him. But this guy's like, he was taking the humble defeat. Like, that's not the Conor McGregor we know, because he's not the same animal anymore. Like, he just, like, when you make 100 million, bro, you're a different person to when you were coming up in the scene.
Seats, right?
Do you know what I mean? You're coming up in the scene. So, yes, I would scrap Conor. I'd probably still get knocked out. Let's be real. But I'd be down for the payday. Do you know what I'm saying?
I'll be hit for $1 million. I don't mind.
Yeah, for real.
But I think everything he used to criticize that lightweight division, they're slow. They're basically not flex. All of these different things he used to say about it, it's like they're stuck in the mud. He became that in that fight.
Yeah, because it's yeah, man. It's just a different kettle of fish, man. It's a different kettle of fish. But I think, for me, I want to do a couple of fights this year if possible. Just looking after my family, man. I just want to take my family on holiday. I just want to relax. I just want to, whenever that is, I just want to keep building the business, keep bringing people into the community. There's a lot. I enjoy my life. I'm not gonna lie. I'm very happy.
If there was one brand you could work with, what brand would that be?
The maddest thing was, it was Gymshark, and then we started working with them. So like, it was hilarious. Like, I was like, I need to win Gymshark. And then, like, crazy thing was, I didn't even seek them out. Somebody I knew introduced me to one of the senior leaders there, and they were like, oh yeah, let's work. Do you know what I mean? So it's that kind of like it's a blessing. It's not even down to hard work or whatever. Just people refer to you.
Bro. I can't. You can't say it's not down to hard work, right? Because there's always a lag effect to the work you put in. It's not.
Yeah, for real. That's true. That's
luck,
true,
man. I'm not gonna let you, with all the success you've had, sit there and be like, oh, it wasn't hard work, bro. There's a lag effect, right?
Yes, for real.
We're working now for the opportunities in the future. Do you know what I mean?
Love that, man.
And that's what it is. So yeah, you've ticked off Gymshark. What else?
I think Nike, man, Nike and Adidas. So Nike and Adidas would be next on that. And the funny thing is, we're talking to them at the moment, which is really cool. But Nike and Adidas would
both?
be, yeah, both, yeah, which is really cool, man. So yeah, I know, bro. But the maddest thing is, this is the sales game, man. And you'll know this, man. You put as many numbers as you can on the board, and you just go, oh, okay, cool. 9 out of 10 flopped. But it is what it is, man. It's the game. That's why you gotta love it. But Nike and Adidas would be really cool. I'd love to work with Pepsi, man. We were speaking to them over a year ago.
Not after this interview.
Yeah, just the thing is though, they can never say I'm not honest and real about it. And I think yeah, Pepsi would be cool. Just anybody, man. Anybody that's willing to really just venture out there and do something different. Because eBay wouldn't have been on my list, man. But then when we started working with eBay, I'm like, these guys really, really, really want to do things differently, man. And then that always impresses me, bro. But by the way, man, you're a phenomenal interviewer, by the way, man.
But the thing, thanks, bro. I mean, you know, you could invite me onto your podcast, but I can't see.
Soon come.
Listen, but eBay, right? I guess what's hard about them is they went from top dog to underdog in a way.
I think the thing is with eBay, they're very well established. They're a really strong brand. But yeah, they over the years, there's a lot of the folks that you know. I think the average user, when I googled it, was like 52 years old or something. So it's like it's the platform itself is whatever. But the great thing I love about eBay, and this is one of the reasons why I'm loved that they're a client, is the fact that they are committed to engaging the next generation. They're not like, oh, you know what, we can't be bothered. It is what it is, like like IBM or whatever. They're like, oh, actually, you know what? We really want to engage this generation. We want to do it properly. And one of our focuses for this year is Gen Z. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a brand that really cares and actually wants to try and do something different.
Okay then, bro, talk to me. One of the final questions, right? If you could sit down with any 3 people, dead or alive, have to be famous. So I don't want to hear about grandparents and all of that stuff, because I mean, my nan would be on that list. But if you could sit down with any 3 people, dead or alive, what 3 people would it be?
All right. Michelle Obama, not even Barack Obama, Michelle Obama.
Why?
She's just a machine, bro. Like, to be married to Barack Obama and still keep your own personality, because he was like one of the biggest personalities in the world when he was president, man. Like, everybody loved him, but she was still herself. See any interview with Michelle, and she's still herself. Do you know what I mean? Like, she wasn't trying to be anything for anybody. And completely outside of the presidency, one of the reasons why I love Joe Biden as well, and his wife is Dr. Biden, because she's a doctor. Her and Michelle are their own women outside of the presidency. Do you know what I mean? They're not like, oh, you know what, I'm just married to the president. It's actually, no, I'm doing my own thing. Michelle had like degrees and all this kind of stuff. Like, they're intelligent people. So yeah, Michelle Obama.
And you have to wonder how much of a rock they are for their husbands behind closed doors. Do you know what I mean?
Trust me. I even know she just calls him out and stuff, boy.
Sometimes it's easy for me to put on a strong face, do these lives, do these podcasts, come home, travel, be the superhero. But then, you know, most of the time behind closed doors, my wife's picking me up. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for real.
Real. And people
that's why you got to marry a good one.
That's when people like they get a divorce or whatever. Obviously, you got a plan for your marriage or whatever. And I said to my wife, I'm going to make her a director of my company. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And she's like, yeah, but it's not mine. Like, I don't want all your money if we break up. I said, but you actually deserve it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Most men can't understand
this is
that.
50%
or like,
yeah.
But you deserve that, because if you didn't do that, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. If you didn't look after my kids when I'm working, we wouldn't earn money. So in my opinion, like, you deserve that, man.
Yeah, for real. I love that, bro. That's bro. You definitely you need to caption that part and just send that part of the video.
I mean, if I get a divorce, I might think different, but
see Cameron in 60 years, he's like, yeah, bun that, man. Give me my money back.
But yeah, so Michelle Obama, who else?
Michelle Obama and Jesus, because I just want to sit down and talk to that guy, because he's one of the most influential people in history. I just want to sit down and understand.
Being controversial, you said Jesus. Do you think there's a possibility you could be disappointed?
Nah, man, it's Jesus, bro. Like, my guy's the sickest guy ever. Like, you know what I love about him is just the way. It doesn't matter who he's around, he's exactly the same. It doesn't matter who he's around. You see him sitting with what was considered the worst of the worst, and then sitting with what was considered the kings in that day. And my man spoke to you see the way he speaks to some of the kings, he speaks to them exactly the same because he just treated everybody the same. So that's something you take to life. But anyway, yeah. So Michelle Obama, Jesus, and then probably Elon Musk, man, because my man is an absolute nutcase, man. And I just love his.
I don't think I could sit down. You seen his Joe Rogan interviews? I'm like, bro, I wouldn't even know what to ask him.
The thing, you know what the thing is? I think with him, if I said to him, I've got 3 questions, and I just wanted to answer these 3 questions, I think he'd be like, all right, cool, let's go off. He just keep them. Joe Rogan interviews are 95 hours long, so it's like he can say whatever he wants for 63 hours and still have, do you know what I mean, like 32 hours left over or whatever. I know I didn't get a 4th, but my 4th would be Jay-Z, fam.
Who?
Jay-Z. If I could just sit down with Jay-Z.
Yeah, I think that what you kind of said about Michelle Obama, obviously a different level. But when Jay-Z, like, I think somebody who's always on my list is Beyonce.
Mad. Yeah, of course.
Because I think Beyonce is a lot more I think Beyonce is better than Jay-Z. I do. Like,
it's real, bro.
Because just even like giving birth and then performing and coming back and doing all these things and the business side to it. And bro, I think it's crazy.
No, crazy story. Yeah, so a friend of mine, she wrote a song for Beyonce's last album and got to meet both Hove and Beyonce on like multiple occasions. You know, and you're just like, I hate you. When she told me, I was like, yeah, I hate you. I was like, no, she was like, yeah. So we sat down at dinner and they took me for dinner, and I was just like,
if I went to a Beyonce concert, I'll be like Kevin Hart at the front. Have you seen that when he's at a concert and he's like,
yeah.
Right, all right, I'm gonna wrap this up, right? Listen, I was gonna ask you to tell us all your social medias, but there's no point because nobody's gonna write down what you say. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna link all your social medias, whatever. I'll talk to you after. So if there's anything you want me to pull on there, just let me know. But yeah, thanks again, bro. I think you're a legend. I think we definitely need to do a part 2. And once this madness is all over, let's catch up in person. And yeah, let's go from there. With that said, you got 2 choices, bro. You got excuses or you got results. 2 tables, right? You can sit on one table, but you can't sit on both. And that's why I tell the teenagers, right? So you got a choice, either excuses or results. You can have one, but you can't have both. Anyway, I'm out. Bye-bye.